we're going to hear some lovely stuff this morning. We're going to hear from Amy Bateman, who was in a Santa hat and is in her studio on a farm at Docker, just outside Kendal. And if you've listened to the podcast a couple of weeks ago when it was published, you'll have heard Amy talking about the 40 Farms project. So we're going to come back at that because she has got some developments there and is looking for some help and support with what happens next with that phenomenally successful book, lovely exhibition at Rheged. We're also going to hear from Katie Reed, who's got the most dramatic background this morning, somewhere off the west coast of Cumbria, who's going to talk to us about the new, about to be launched or launching today, cultural strategy for West Cumbria. A lot of work's gone into that. Verity Schillerbeer, probably the best surname of the morning, is going to be talking to us about the launch of the digital platform for the Helping Hands project, which is that project, 2-year, £500,000 Arts Council money, getting people to be different, getting new volunteers to organisations, 45 organisations, if I remember rightly, across Cumbria. So we're going to hear a bit more about that. We're also going to hear, and I'm going to show you now, a beautiful graphic that's all about BarrowFull. So just enjoy this. And after this, we're going to cross to Amy to hear about what's going on with 40 Farms. But have an enjoy of this.
Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas time once again. We hope you're spending it with family and friends. This year we've got a barrow full of Christmas. 12 gifts for you to get up on your wish list. Barrow Park and Dock Museum's full of festivities. And there's no right or wrong the order you might visit these. Give it a try, see what catches on your eye. You might just be surprised at the things that you could find.
I love stuff like that, I'm afraid. And that's lovely. JD and Swerve who put that together for part of the BarrowFull. So we're going to come back to that and hear what's going on down in Barrow between now and Christmas, speaking of Advent calendars and what they're doing. So that is the plan for this morning. I just wanted to mark also Christine McVeigh. So those of us that are of a certain age, Fleetwood Mac member, went away, came back again. We can claim her here in Cumbria. I think technically it was Lancashire when she was born, but she was from a little place called Bowth, if I said that correctly, Chris, near Ulverston, little village, I think, Bouth. I've never been there myself, but that's where she was from. And she was a phenomenal Cumbrian cultural creative. I think she only lived there for a few years before moving to Birmingham, but I think we can claim her. So been enjoying a bit of Fleetwood Mac this week, as I'm sure lots of other people have as well. So we wish her well wherever she's gone to. Right, well, let's cross to Docker, a beautiful little place just outside Kendal, beautiful farming territory, and that's where Amy Bateman is based. This is her book. I've got a copy here, 45. Is that the right way around, or is that the wrong way around with the mirror? I can't work it out. There, Amy's got one too. It's a beautiful book, came out, I don't know, 6 weeks ago or so ago now, profiling 40 farms across the county. Beautiful words, fantastic photography, beautifully presented. Big exhibition at Rheged. I'm going to let Amy talk to you a bit more about it, maybe about how it came about briefly as well, and what might happen to it next. So Amy, I think you've got a few images to share with us as well. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I don't know whether in my 15 minutes I'll have time to tell you about how it came about, because the presentation is sort of tweaked and finely tuned, but quick introduction. Yes, thanks ever so much, Tom. That was a really nice introduction. So the book, it was published on the 16th of September this year, and my publisher is a Cumbrian-based publisher inspired by Lakeland. It's run by Dave Felton, and it's taken us both by surprise how successful it's been, and the sales figures have been quite extraordinary. But looking forwards, the exhibition started and we launched the book at Rheged. Looking forwards, we are wanting to travel and take this exhibition further. The book and the exhibition seems to have struck a chord with a whole range of different people. We eat food 3 times a day, of course, and so we're looking at the food that's on our plate and people are starting to question where it comes from. So we're striking those sort of people. We're looking at the people who are concerned about the environment and the landscapes, who enjoy these cherished landscapes of Cumbria and interested in why they are as they are. We are obviously dealing with farmers and food producers and craft makers and artisans. So there's a whole range of people who have been totally captivated by the images and the stories behind the book. So I feel it's too good an opportunity to have this body of work and not to keep educating, not to keep travelling with it. And we need to go and tell more people about why the landscapes of Cumbria are as they are. So what I've got here, I'll just share my screen. So very quick, this is effectively the proposal I'm putting together to go and see. I'm going to send this effectively to large galleries across the Northwest to start with. I've got some contacts already that I'm working on and some potential dates. But we're wanting, basically, I'm talking to you today just in case anybody has any contacts or has any information that they'd be willing to share with me. So we're looking to provide an exhibition that will basically take on where Rheged's left off. So a bit of a summary. In March, I embarked on a journey across the whole of the Cumbria to record stories of 40 farms in the Lake District and produce this sumptuous coffee table book, as Tom rightly showed you. We covered the Rheged Lake District Commons, the Big Sky, isolated farms, states unchanged in generations to businesses that are at the cutting edge of innovation, world-class sheep breeders to award-winning cheesemakers, and the exhibition is a visual record of farming at a period of profound change. The change is being brought about by economics, by politics, by the environment, by diets, by education. And we've got such things thrown at farmers at the moment that is just absolutely unprecedented and needing to change faster than we've ever changed before. And so these are case studies from the ground about how these farmers are using these challenges as opportunities. So over the course of the year, I had these conversations about these challenges with them, about this balance, really finely tuned balance of producing quality food in these landscapes, and about how the highs and lows of working in an area known and loved internationally. We've got people in the book that you'll recognise, James Rebanks, we've got Simon Rogan, interviews with them are fascinating. And then we've got Hartley Trotter, who grows damsons in the Lyme Valley, and the King of the Herdwicks, Anthony Hartley, amongst others. The exhibition offers a really unique insight into everyday lives, fears and hopes of 40 quite extraordinary farmers through photography, products, film and words to create quite an immersive experience. The experience that you can have within the exhibition here at Rheged has got the pictures wrapped up with a whole load of products produced directly from the farms. And so we've got various stages where you learn how to make cheese, how to make sausages, how to make ice creams, and really understand the people and the stories behind these farms, so that when you're driving past the fields, you'll understand a little bit more about what's actually going on in them. The whole exhibition so far has been supported by using public funding from the Arts Council, and we're very grateful. And we've had these fantastic sponsors have helped put together the exhibition at Rheged, which I'm sure any of you are aware, trying to do something on this scale, funding is quite prohibitive. So moving forwards, we're just looking at my time being covered. I'm going to be the project lead going forwards. We've got the exhibitions already printed, the products are already there. And so we're looking at different venues and some support in order to market and go further forwards. The exhibition itself contains about 200 images representing the 40 farms and can cover 100 square meters. We can actually go quite a lot bigger. I could have filled Rheged 3 times over. We've got 12 different plinths of products and crafts from the farms themselves. We've got an interactive artist landscape. This one is from Derek Elland. Now, as much as that can't travel, there's an opportunity to host at other venues a similar sort of, well, we had a bit of a competition where artists were invited to submit their proposals for some sort of interactive gallery to increase the time spent within the gallery. And that's something that we could quite happily continue and take the idea if we wanted to cover a bit more space or have some more involvement from other people. There are 3 short films. We've got the introduction, I've got a drone film, and then we've got a film that's addressing diversity with Amira from the Wunderlust Women, and it's quite interesting. They're playing in the exhibition as well. We have a diary wall. That's been quite an eye-opener. People have been invited to comment on a card and put it on the diary wall about what farming means to them. The success of the exhibition has taken both us and Rheged by surprise. I don't know why, really. I mean, looking at it, it's a perfect timing. It's so poignant that The book has come out at this time, post-pandemic, when there were countries trying to get back on its feet and the financial aspects and everything. However, we had 20,000 visitors within the first 8 weeks, and so far we've still got another month to go, and we sold over 1,000 books. So as a merchandise opportunity alongside the exhibition, it's quite staggering. We've had massive amounts of positive feedback throughout the visitors' book, social media, even in the mainstream news. We've been in the Telegraph, BBC. Next week we're on BBC Radio 4, Farming Today. We've got BBC Cumbria. BBC Northwest have just filmed here at my farm this week. It's really striking a chord with a lot of people. We've had a lot of school visits ranging from primary through to college. Many visitors have actually visited more than once, increasing the footfall to a venue. And it's been one of the most successful exhibitions that Rheged has ever displayed. Associated merchandise alongside the exhibition, so increasing revenue if the exhibition is on somewhere. We've obviously got the book. A significant trade cost on the book is offered for venues that are able to host us. Prints, cards and calendars would be for sale as well. There's a lot of associated experiences, so it's not just the exhibition itself. We were able to run an incredibly successful farmers market, and no matter where it goes, this can actually be, these experiences can be adopted across the country. So we had, go back to the farmers market, we had 30 stands. It was unbelievable, the buzz and the atmosphere, and there's obviously a need to support these local farmers, and people were delighted in being able to come out and buy products from these farms and shop local. We had the Young Farmers Photography Competition. The day of the farmers market, we actually had the most visitors to the exhibition in one day. We reached nearly 2,000 visitors in one day alone, which was staggering. Just a minute, I can't seem to work this. It's clicking at me. Is somebody doing something in the background because it's clicking at me? We're going again. Right, we had the diary wall that I mentioned before. We've got the potential artist involvement. We've got the films. There were additional films running at Rheged in the cinemas themselves and are continuing. We're obviously there until the 4th of January, and there's still some more films and talks and creative classes to be run. There we've had debates on land use, debates on the future of farming, debates on food. We've had presentations from butchers, from cheesemakers, from the Fell Pony Heritage Trust, and no matter where the exhibition goes, these sort of things can be repeated and replicated. And there's been quite a few creative classes run alongside it. I've been teaching photography, iPhone photography. We've had little felted herdweight sheep being made, creative arts classes. And again, these sort of things can be replicated no matter where the exhibition is held after we leave Rheged. From an education point of view, we've had primary schools, and so they can address food, landscape, farming, nutrition and geography all in one hit. Secondary schools have been coming, so those children that are choosing to focus within sort of GCSE and A levels on food and nutrition, countryside skills, rural development, your geography and your heritage. And then we've also got further education. We've had colleges and universities come and study the exhibition from landscape management point of view, people doing apprenticeships, environmental studies and land-based sciences and countryside skills. And there's actually a huge this is a massive thing, and I'm very keen on taking the education side of things a lot further, and there's a lot more that we could develop from those aspects themselves. So I need you, well actually I need your contacts. So if anybody would be willing to share, even if just a phone number or an email or an intro or an inn somewhere across the Northwest, first of all, anywhere, London, we've got a contact at the Museum of British Rural Life, thanks Tom. I've got a contact now in London with the Science Museum, but if anybody can think or have any ideas, I'm open to any suggestions. Thank you ever so much for listening. I'm sorry it turned into a little bit of a business plan, and if you get to the exhibition, that would be ace. See for yourself, and if you have already, thank you very much, and if you've got the book, it's good for Christmas.
I've got the book and the calendar, and I've been to the exhibition, so I get a lot of gold stars.
Oh, very much. Top of the class, Tom, unless anybody can beat you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've been inside that studio. So are you looking beyond Cumbria now, Amy, or do you want to relocate to another place in Cumbria, do you think?
I have something in the pipeline for Cumbria. but it's very early doors for a venue for next year. I think realistically, the last 6 weeks has taken us by surprise about how, you know, when we've suddenly realised the success of it is just ongoing. It's not that it's had a peak and is tailing off. The visitors numbers are still quite remarkable. And so I know it's a regional book and it really suits being in Cumbria, and it's a win-win for Rheged because it's everything about their ethos. And it's entirely what the book is about, they're doing from a business point of view. However, we've proved that people are interested in farming, food and the landscapes, people are interested in photography, and it reaches a totally different people. People will pick up James Rebank's book and they might read it, but not everybody's going to. Whereas if you've got a coffee table book and it's sat there, you know, and you can just dip in and out of it, it seems to be capturing a different side of readers. And the fact that we've been able to put it on as a free exhibition because it's funded by the Arts Council, there's only my type, that makes it a lot more accessible to great numbers of people at a time with cost of living when it's really important. And also I'd like to try and keep it as a free exhibition if possible, to just get people through the door and learn about these landscapes and learn about the environment and how the farmers are managing the landscapes here in Cumbria sensitively.
Okay. We've got a few minutes. Does anybody want to chip in with any ideas, however radical or wide or ridiculous they may be, as to where Amy might think about going? Verity.
Firstly, what an amazing exhibition, Amy. That looks so interesting and staggeringly successful. Really well done. And I definitely have someone in mind who would love 40 Farms as a Christmas present. So I've Googled it already and have an open tab ready to check it out. I just wondered, have you already been in contact with the Rural Museums Network by any chance?
No, didn't know about that.
I'll send you an email with them then, because my previous job was with the Museum of English Rural Life, who are based down in Reading, but there's a whole network of other such rural museums that could be a good contact to put in.
Verity, that's wonderful. Thanks very much. That's exactly the sort of thing I'm after. Thank you.
Amy, just stick your email address back into chat when you get a second.
I will.
Yeah. Can pick it up from there. Katie.
Congratulations, Amy. Absolutely stunning. And the thing that it does as your tourism officer for West Cumbria is that attract and disperse. Obviously, we have the Beacon Museum, and they host Wildlife Photographer of the Year every year exhibition. I can see the two sitting alongside each other, and it definitely would be a draw for visitors. So I think that's something we would like to explore. It really highlights our valleys as well as our coast. So just a huge congratulations, and I think there's something that we can really help you with going forward.
Brilliant. I don't remember if you remember sitting next to me. We were eating food once at some Cumbria.
Absolutely, yeah. You once met, never forgotten. Yeah. And I'm actually giving an award out this evening at Rheged for Blue Badge Guides.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. And, I can't make it, unfortunately. I was invited.
I will really enjoy your exhibition as the backdrop, and we'll take time to walk around it tonight. So thank you.
Okay, Ian.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my Zoom this morning. You don't get a little picture of yourself, but never mind. That's a good thing in my book. Amy, I saw the exhibition and I was fascinated. I don't know if this is an idea of where it could go, but I was fascinated by some of the things that I didn't know were going on. Like, I can't remember the name of the farm, I'm sorry, but the one that's using sheep's wool and bracken as a fertilizer.
Dalefoot compost, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, some of those sort of things that are happening might be really of interest. Now I'm wondering if there's a kind of almost a sort of training aspect to kind of expand the knowledge via people like CAFs, etc.
I mean, obviously we're talking today as you guys from sort of arts and creatives. I've got fingers in pies within sustainability and farming, and I've got some significant contacts in those sectors because, of course, it addresses so many issues, and sustainability of both food and the environment is so important going forwards. So definitely the education of that, it's just striking I've said it several times, striking a chord with people. I need a new phrase, don't I?
And so to ask the obvious, presumably you've got contacts at CAFs, etc.
Where, sorry?
Cumbria Action for Sustainability.
Oh, yes. Yes, somebody did contact me about it, actually. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. That reminded me. Yes.
Thanks, Ian. Virginia. Just come off mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah.
I was just having trouble unmuting you. Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but Ian's just gone there. So, I mean, there is the anti-meat and anti-dairy lobby is significant, and I think the understanding of, as it were, terroir, high-quality product, the landscape that is actually constructed by pastoralism, the difference between sort of industrial meat and, you know, and high quality meat. Of course, then you trip over the arguments, well, people can't afford it. And then you also trip over the problem that we do actually have industrial milk, which is, you know, we say, no, we don't have industrial meat in the UK much, but we do have industrial meat. So, you know, there is a there is a big, you know, there's a big issue here. And, you know,
well, one of the farms,
watching your presentation, I was thinking that this is, this might be a kind of like an educational opportunity for the people who have, who's number one on their list of how to save the planet is don't eat meat.
yeah, unfortunately, actually not eating meat is likely to damage the planet. It's been proven now that actually we do need the livestock in these pastoral systems. The problem we've got with an awful lot of those groups and lobbyists is that they're not actually prepared to be educated. They've made their mind up. We need to capture the people who are in between, the young people. We need to capture the primary school kids and the secondary school kids who are still not quite making their mind up and haven't made full decisions about their diet, and make them understand the landscape and the environments that where food is produced, that produce high welfare. We've actually got an industrial milk producer in the exhibition, and his story at Cairnhead is absolutely fascinating about how he's still able to produce from 400 cows, and he's got 3 farms, so he's actually got 1,200 cows, and yet still care for the environment, work around regenerative agriculture so that we are still producing milk of a high quality with high welfare and still caring for the environment.
Could I just come back on that? Could I just come back? I mean, the thing is that it is actually the people, the children, they're too far down the line. We do have to actually talk to the people who, we have to change minds, and you know, and the Cumbria zero carbon network, what's it called? I mean, you know, number one on their list, to the fury of Adam Day and the Farmer Network and everybody, is don't eat meat. So, you know, so I mean, I would be very interested if we could actually, you know, have a talk about how we can use, or ask you if you could help us change some minds, like at political level.
We're gonna need to move on shortly, but a thought from Alan, then a thought from Jaquetta, and then we're going to move on after that. So Alan, over to you.
Hi, yeah, I'm very, very impressed, Amy. Thank you very much for all the work you've done there. I was really interested. I work in Carlisle and we have an Up for the Urban Village Community Arts project. So I'm really particularly interested in actually raising awareness amongst particularly younger people in urban areas. I mean, I know your exhibition's up there, but I appreciate you looking to spread it out. But you know, I've met young people in Carlisle who've never seen a cow at the age of 15. Do you know what I mean? So I think pricking up what Virginia was saying about education, I think it's really quite important. So are there any plans to locate the exhibition perhaps in Carlisle or Barrow?
I think initially, because we've spent this initial run within Cumbria, we'd like to move out of Cumbria.
Yeah.
I have got a venue in Cumbria that I'm in discussion with at the moment, but of course I'm not going to rule out Cumbria long term because it's a regional exhibition. because of the value, the last lady, I'm sorry, I can't see her to just see
Virginia.
her name, that we would, yeah, Virginia was talking about with the anti-meat and the anti-milk. We realised we need to get into real big urban areas. I'd like to focus on Manchester. There are a couple of big galleries there that have got big catchment areas. And in fact, I'd actually really love to do some sort of pop-up urban exhibition somewhere where you really wouldn't expect to see it, and really get those people who just live totally urban to understand about what's happening in the countryside outside and how their food is produced. Yeah, I've got, my soapbox is getting bigger. This is turning into a live submission. I've spent a week on Twitter doing farmers of the UK on Twitter, and I was banging my head against some vegans who just, you know, shouting stuff that's just absolute twaddle. And it's nice to have these case studies of real people on the ground doing proper things to actually show them.
My thought was going to be get it into cities, and you've already had that thought. Jaquetta.
Yeah.
I'm speaking personally, Amy. I'm involved with SLEDP, the South Lakeland Equality and Diversity Partnership. I'm their interfaith and multi-faith lead. And it struck me that your work is something that they might be interested in having a talk on, though it's not my place to invite you. You know, the chairman would have to invite you. Would you be interested? It would be a Microsoft Teams meeting hosted by South Lakeland District Council. Would you be interested in talking to something like that?
Yeah, I'm getting a huge number of requests to do talks and things at the minute, and I do public speaking and I do presentations. I'm having to charge for my time for those at the moment because I am in demand, and I need to make sure that I'm doing stuff that are of a benefit to either the project or myself, if purely selfishly, if you know what I mean. I'm just having to protect my time at the minute, so I'm happy to make the contact. I can't promise anything. And certainly happy to open discussions on that sort of thing.
Okay.
I'll send it, as far as I know, and this is just as far as I know, they've never paid a speaker, but I may be wrong about that. But if Tom can send me your email contact. So
Jaquetta, Amy's put her email into chat.
Oh, right, great, thank you.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'll pass it on. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Jaquetta. Amy, that's been great. You may well get some other bits and bobs off the back of this call, I suspect. And I'm sure you've thought of Beamish. You know, Beamish is one of those wonderful places that isn't a million miles away.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Tom, for inviting me and giving me the opportunity. It's been quite an eye-opener coming on this call and being involved with you all. So thanks ever so much for taking the time to listen.
Okay, and good luck with it. It's a great thing, and I know it's on at Rheged till I think the 4th of January. So get down there if you haven't already, and all those bits around the exhibition as well are fascinating. Thank you, Amy. Lovely to see you again.
No worries.
Right, let's move to West Cumbria from Docker and find out what the new cultural strategy is over there. And we're going to listen to Katie Reid, who's a Tourism and Cultural Development Officer for Copeland Borough Council. So Katie, I shall get up your slides and the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Tom. And you're going to hear those famous words. Next slide, please, Tom. Quite a lot through this. Fantastic. Can you all see that? Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for inviting me today. And you'll notice that my title has changed. And the big change is the cultural in that title. So for the first time in far too many years, you do actually have a cultural part of an officer, which in itself, I think is a really great way forward. Next slide, please, Tom. You can see on screen the scope of the strategy, but the bigger question is, why now? Well, there was a window of opportunity, and this is the first post-pandemic cultural strategy, and that has real resonance and real importance. We know that, you know, the net diminishing core funding, we've got levelling up, but what we have got in West Cumbria right now is that synergy and a really progressive leadership. And of course, on all of your minds will be local government reform and going into Cumberland. Next slide, please, Tom. This slide doesn't actually really show you the passion. Obviously, when we went out to consultation across all sectors and communities, it yielded so much information, but real passionate viewpoints. Some people made their points very strongly, but it really illustrates the themes that were emerging from that. And for me and the steering group, it was that recognition of value and importance of the cultural sector and the work that needs to be done to embed it right across that place agenda. We have so many new faces, new connections, roles and resources. And I think we've got a confidence right now in the leadership, and also we do recognise that visibility really does take time. I'm talking to a fantastic group of people this morning that know that people and resources are spread really thinly and at a very local level. And we really need this joined up approach, especially across the digital sector, to develop it further. And culture thrives at community and an unfunded level. And, you know, one of the things that I'd like you to get out of this morning is this is not a local authority strategy, which is absolutely groundbreaking. Next slide, please, Tom. This is the ambition for culture, to provide that local culture and civic loop to actually work effectively and identify the service that is needed by West Cumbrians. That, you know, it has to be from this really grassroots level. Next slide, please, Tom. So the aim is a long-term transformational impact. It requires a really substantial investment model to change, and it requires a compact of multiple investors. So it needs to be committed to that social impact returns. It's got to be about the private sector, the public sector, the third sector, the Arts Council and Community Foundation. It requires a real change to make it dynamic. It needs to be ambitious. It needs to be relevant. It needs to be deployable, which are all things that bring their own challenges. It needs to talk to existing models. The temptation when you actually, you know, produce a new cultural strategy is, oh, it's got to be new, it's got to be different, it's got to throw the baby out with the bathwater, but not in this case. We really do need to look at those fantastic existing models and work within that. But for us, it has to have that significant long-term impact, but also have short-term indicators so you can see it where we're going from day one. Next slide, please, Tom. The key themes have been developed directly from that consultation and that engagement process. And some of them won't be a surprise to you at all. They are all integrated, but the one theme that does carry the real weight is young people. And, you know, I've already heard on the call today, we talk about young people, and we've got to note that as a focus. Next slide, please, Tom. So how does this work? Well, it's really about embedding that collaborative practices with all partners and developing those new initiatives to make sure that, you know, we do take this forward. It's about identifying and recognizing and supporting that potential for creativity and that talent that really transforms lives and places. It adopts a real strength-based approach. We're seeking to foster and empower, but establish untapped talent and resources across West Cumbria, but also to foster that sustainable development. And that's not just in the terms when, you know, we talk about sustainable these days, we talk about net carbon neutrality, but actually it's about that creation of sustainable jobs and employment that can be firmly footed in West Cumbria. And to ensure that we co-create, that we shape and deliver against priorities, but making sure yet again that insight from the local community, artists and audience are actually our priority. That yes, we have those strategic priorities, but it's about local community, it's about local delivery. And it's about that data informing that, you know, we combine that local knowledge and actually make it really relevant, both within the resources of culture, but non-culture evidence. As you all know, I have tourism in my job title. So I am about the experience economy, and it's about harnessing all of that. It's not about looking at just one sector, but how it can actually go right across and influence others. And we also need to be really committed to that measurable change, that, you know, we do actually show that progress in the short term, medium term and long term. Next slide, please, Tom. So the core ambitions, they're on your screen for you. And again, it's that real relevance, it's that growth of the cultural sector. But it's also about that core of social education, health, environment, economic goals. It's about ensuring the cultural needs of the existing. Again, I can't stress that enough. It's about the existing as much as it is about new communities and their needs are met. And resilience, building upon that, really celebrating the resilience that we have in communities and making sure that we really enforce that cultural partnership going forward. And also talking about that diversity, we heard about that this morning, it's that diversity of voices as well, and being able to speak to all and not just the few. Next slide, please, Tom. So what is the new model for West Cumbria? Well, it's enabling and facilitating cultural partnerships. And rather than that direct delivery, because that's what you're already doing, it's how we actually support that and how we broker those real impactful collaborative cross-sector interventions and drive that forward. And marshal the engagement and wide range of strategic partners, making the case for cultural investment and identifying those opportunities. We've got a fantastic opportunity. The Arts Council sees Copeland as a priority place. We're still not sure what that is yet, and we're going under really early discussions with the Art Councils to see how that will support us. And how that will lever funding going forward. And also for the first time, we've got creative people and places as well. ACT are holding that. But again, we've just started that engagement piece. So we've had our first workshops in Cleatamore, and in early January, you'll see some of those in Maya House and Rheged as well. So that program is starting to become hype behind us as well. So it's about skilled in a number of areas. So that co-design, that advocacy, the communications, the joint marketing, the digital transformation, and that monitoring and evaluation. And that advocacy, the advocacy that you do, we need to make sure that is reliable, robust, accurate data, so we can really make strong cases moving forward. Next slide, please, Tom. So both in the short term, it's about that deployability, and in the long term, it's about that systematic change. We are going through local government transformation, and we have actually commissioned a new piece of work. So although the cultural strategy has been ratified and accepted by both Copeland and Allerdale Borough Council, we felt there was a piece of work missing, which is the Carlisle story. So Carlisle, as you know, have their cultural strategy, they have their action plan, but it's not moved forward at the pace that we'd like to see. So actually revisiting that and doing a bit more work to find out what out of the 10 priorities, which one of those resonate with West Cumbria, and making sure that this has a home come the 1st of April. Because it would be remiss if we weren't doing that piece of work. We will also make sure that we build this resilient West Cumbria cultural partnership in association with yourselves. Your network is held up as one of the best, and I have other partners and peers in other, Durham talk about you now. You're very much there. It's fantastic what has come out of the pandemic. And we really want to make sure that we extend that and that we have the right stakeholders and organizations and programs, and that we get the investment and funding partners ready to act and help you to actually deliver. And it's also about that social impact funding, rethink by organizations, project by project, and develop a more ambitious, a more place-based, unified approach. So we know that when you're going for funding, we can absolutely be your advocates, be your czars, and make sure that, we're saying this funding is coming forward and we support that.
2 more minutes, Katie. 2 more minutes. Thank you.
No problem. And really define those resources and that vehicle and the measurement again. Next slide, please. And one of the last. So developing existing and attract more talent, especially young, early careers people, acting and making sure that creative and cultural industries are there and sustain viable and valued careers. And one of the things we know that has really come out of COVID is that cultural and creativity to improve health. The outcomes for the community in West Cumbria, especially around mental health. Also to look at the growth and development of the experience economy. That's why you have a tourism and cultural officer now, looking at local residents, and again, making sure that we have enterprises and experiences that are authentic to the tourism industry, infrastructure and visitor economy. And also identifying that sustainable growth with the environment and cultural delivery. Last slide, please. That has been an absolute whiz through. The cultural strategy is available. I'll put my email in the chat. Please email me if you would like a copy. The next steps are that we will be looking at a cultural catalyst unit. We're looking at UK SPF funding to actually support us in that, with conversations with the Arts Council. And we will have a launch event as such, probably late January, early February, which you are all welcome to attend.
Katie, thank you very much indeed for that. I suspect we'll revisit that in the spring, as you say, when you get a bit more public. Just to answer Derek's question, how is West Cumbria defined in this context? So it's Allerdale and Copeland, and obviously to becoming part of Cumberland with Carlisle as well.
That's correct. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, lovely. Thank you very much, Katie. Lots to look forward to there, and thank you for your kind words about the network as well. I'm sure everybody here appreciated that, and good to hear that there's a reputation beyond these shores of Cumbria. Right, well, speaking of reputations, Verity Schillerbeer is with us, and I'm about to invite you to look at a lovely little presentation that's been put together, because today is a digital launch of Helping Hands, the big project going across Cumbria. So Verity, I shall get your beautiful slides up, and you have, between 5 and 10 minutes to tell us all about it.
Thank you very much. I'll whiz through because I particularly want to save time to shout about BarrowFull afterwards, and the project that's happening this month, which actually I'm volunteering at this afternoon, which will be really fun. But for now, helping hands. So I'm Verity. I am a white woman in my mid-20s with dark curly hair and a very big smile. And part of that very big smile is because I'm so excited for today's digital launch of Helping Hands. So some of you will have already heard of Helping Hands, as we've shouted about it a bit on the CACN network meetings already, but for those of you who haven't, and for those of you who have, here's a bit of a reminder as we do our soft launch online today. Next slide, please, Tom. So this is an animation that's been put together by our very talented consultants that acts as a sort of teaser trailer before I explain what Helping Hands does. And when this will soon have a voiceover, so it's not just a visual aid, but for now, it's telling you about how to find out we can do something brilliant together. Okay. Great. Next slide, please, Tom. Thank you. So, in summary, the Helping Hands project is a 2-year project that's cross-county. We go into arts organisations across all of Cumbria with the focus of improving accessibility and inclusivity within these organisations, particularly for volunteers. So we'll go into organisations that already exist and we increase their capacity to improve their inclusion practices so that hopefully more people can volunteer, but more pertinently, people who otherwise may not volunteer due to barriers such as protected characteristics or travel barriers or all sorts of different things. And we can try and make a space where it's comfortable and possible for them to provide all of the amazing skills that they can. Next slide, please, Tom. So we have a couple of core aims. As you can see, we want to improve individual and community well-being because we really believe in the benefits of volunteering, both as an individual and as an organisation, but also the networks that come from volunteering more broadly. Of course, diversity is at the core of what we're doing. We really want to improve representation across the volunteer workforce and really celebrate all of the different skills that diversity will bring. And finally, one of our other core values is to break down barriers, because these exist. There are many different reasons why people might not volunteer, and that's a crying shame. And we can absolutely do things to break these down for people. Next slide, please, Tom. So, doing this project takes a village. This is part of the village. This is these friendly faces are the core team. We call ourselves Inclusive Volunteer Leads. And as you can see, we've been assigned a different geographic cluster to ensure that we are fully spread across the county. So I'm in the left-hand corner there, and as you can see, it says South. So I represent South Cumbria. I'm particularly based in the Furness Peninsula. So I live in Barrow. I moved to Barrow for the job, and I'm very excited to be here and to have been welcomed by all of my new Barrovian friends. And I can see there are a couple of you that I recognise on the call today. And also on the call today is Jay, who is covering the Eastern Eden portion of Cumbria. And it's a very good team. But of course, we're wider than this. The team of people, this is the core team, but it takes even more people to put this together. We're really broadening networks as part of this project. So next slide, please, Tom. So each of us inclusive volunteer leads, or IVLs, as pictured on the previous slide, are very kindly hosted in each of our geographic clusters by what we call strategic partners, which essentially are host organizations to, so my desk is mainly based in BarrowFull, here in Barrow, but they also are the core organizations that really steer and guide the project along. Next slide, please, Tom. But we also have, we have a much wider network of organizations, including the previous ones, who will actually host the volunteers. So these are the organizations that will actually provide volunteering roles and opportunities for individuals. And these are the ones that we're going into and working with to, in some cases, build from scratch volunteer management and support structures, and in some we're just tweaking and providing training in inclusive practices. In some we're providing extra capacity to create flexible and new very tailored roles, so that theoretically and hopefully anyone who wants to volunteer can find something for them, because we can create an opportunity for them. And these are some of the amazing organizations that our volunteers will be working at. Next slide, please, Tom. And then finally, our final group of partners are our diversity partners, who are exceptional professionals who specialize in supporting people with specific protected characteristics. So you can see a flavour of some of the people who we're very proud to be partnered with. Some of our inclusive volunteer leaves have an extra hat on, where we are the main representative for particular protected characteristics. So for example, I represent South Cumbria, but I also represent people who are deaf, disabled, or neurodivergent. So I'm the core contact for the diversity partners that can support people who have lived experiences of those things. But we also have Pat and Abby, who provide extra support for people who find that their age may be a barrier to volunteering. Jay is working with people who can support socioeconomic barriers, and Janet is supporting people who may experience barriers to do with their race or their culture. So we're very excited to have their advice and support and the training that they can provide for our organizations to really try and provide as much support and advice as we can. And next slide, please, Tom. So I can see we're cutting it slightly short for time. So these are some of the ways in which we do this. It's a complex project where we are providing, we're tailoring volunteer opportunities. We're partnering with diversity experts for inclusion advice, but I'll just quickly move on to say goodbye with a final thought. So next slide, please, Tom. So the big reason we're here today, hopefully that helped understand a bit more of what we're doing. And please, if you'd like to help, today's the day to do it. So today's our digital launch. Our social medias and our website will officially go live. So if you could please share any of our posts, that would be fantastic. Also, tell your friends, tell your colleagues, tell your family that our project exists, so that, again, word gets out there, so that then the big one, anyone you know or any of your networks know of people who may benefit from tailored volunteer opportunities that provide additional support and are really aiming to be as accessible as possible, please refer them to us, because our roles are beginning to go live. More will come in due course, but for now, we've officially launched. Please refer anyone you think may benefit from us. Thank you very much.
Great stuff, Verity. How exciting that it's launching today. And as you say, we can all be advocates and can help you to spread the word on behalf of the project, which I think has another 18 months to go, and is potentially transformative to getting, you know, new types of volunteers, to make our organisations more diverse, more inclusive, more representative, and better, frankly. So thank you very much, Verity, and thank you for taking us through that presentation. Lovely stuff. And there's the website in chat. Right, just to finish with, we're going to feel a bit festive, as well as Amy's hat that was too warm for her. We're going to cross to BarrowFull, and there's Helen. And Helen, I've already shown the graphic at the start of the meeting, but I'm very happy to show JD and Swerve's magnificent rendition of A Christmas Poem again. But over to you, probably 2 or 3 minutes, Helen. Tell us what's going on in Barrow.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm a white woman with long blonde hair, and I smile a lot like Verity, which you might hear in my voice. I'm Helen from BarrowFull. I'm in the Dock Museum, inside the Dock Museum, which is nice and warm. If you're coming to a BarrowFull of Christmas, which opens tomorrow, it's on the 3rd, 4th, 7th, 10th and 11th of December, do wrap up warm. All the things you can see are inside, but just wrap up warm so that you can move between the sites. So it's a creative response to the 12 gifts of Christmas my true love gave to me. So each of the gifts is an experience for all the family to enjoy, and you walk around a kind of trail, and there's maps available, and it's across the Dock Museum and across Barrow Park. I won't talk too much because it's better to just go on our socials and watch, our fabulous Barrow-based rappers who've done a track to advertise it. We've got a beautiful illustration, animation. Did you see? Is that the one you've seen? The animation?
Yeah, I want to show it again, Helen. So when you're ready, just introduce it, and I shall play it again.
It's so beautiful, and it's by a Barrow-based graphic designer called Tori Davies, who we love to shout about because she designs for Lego. She works on the Lego films, and she's just a wonderful person. And I won't talk too long. I just wanted to say I'm just so excited that all this stuff's happening in Cumbria as well, and it's brilliant. The West Coast is alive and happening, and I love a bit of partnership. Hence, this call is just a fantastic thing, and it is a great network. But I'm just thinking, with the CPP down at the bottom of the West Coast, there's going to be a CPP going up to the top. We're going to for Creative People and Places. Sorry for everybody who doesn't know that. So we're the BarrowFull are the Creative People and Places project for Barrow in Furness, and I'm just excited that the new one is starting up on the West Coast. So just hearing about all. My mind's whirring with connections that can be made across, along the West Coast. So that's brilliant. So anyway, it's a BarrowFull of Christmas, a festive treat for all the families. It's completely free. There's free transport. All the information is on our socials. But yes, please show the lovely animation by Tori Davies.
Play. Right, I'm going to reload it. Stay there, everybody.
Well, I can just talk quickly about JD and Swerve, who are the rappers who are from Barrow. They're here today actually helping out, and they have done the track, which is placed over the animation once it's started. And they've got Horizon Studios, who work with young people to develop recording and I suppose composing skills in Barrow and across the county actually. So Barrow's the place to be. I'm playing for time now.
You're doing brilliantly. It's too much for my computer to do because of all the things that I've got open for this presentation. So we saw it earlier on, Helen. Believe you me, we all enjoyed it.
Okay, please, everyone, maybe everyone can share it then. So if you go onto our socials, it means you get to see it again and you can share it. So there's stuff on our Instagram. I've put a really poor reel out, but it does have their track on it. This one's better actually. So share the Facebook one and tell everybody to come to Barrow, and tell everybody to visit the Dock Museum as well generally, because there's a fabulous exhibition at the moment, mini scrapbook, which was on Northwest tonight, and it's just a great place to be. You've got Warney Beach just on the side, lovely walk, see Black Combe, have a little wander, come to the Dock Museum, good cafe, a place to be.
Excellent.
#brilliant Barrow.
I think that's enough mentions of the word Barrow this morning. Thank you very much. And Danielle's putting all sorts of nice, lovely things on her screen as well. All right, that's lovely. Thank you. Sorry I couldn't play again, but I shall stick it on the on Facebook and also on the Twitter and the Instagram feed as well. Oh, here we go.
I can hear them.
Right, I'm now going to play it. So we're going to play out with the lovely BarrowFull graphic and animation again. Here it goes.
Ho, ho, ho. It's Christmas time once again. We hope you're spending it with family and friends. This year we've got a barrow full of Christmas. 12 gifts for you to get up on your wish list. Barrow Park and Duck Museum's full of festivities. And there's no right or wrong the order you might visit these. Give it a try, see what catches on your eye. You might just be surprised at the things that you could find.
Lovely stuff.
Brilliant.
I'm feeling really festive now. All right, thanks everybody for this morning. Thank you to Amy for her beautiful exhibition and plans for the future. Thank you for Katie for taking us through the West Cumbria strategy, to Verity for telling us about Helping Hands again, and to Helen for telling us about what's going on in BarrowFull over Christmas. Next week, the penultimate one, we've got Mahogany Opera, who are based at Rose Hill, telling us about their plans for the spring. With fantastic exhibition and travelling exhibition across Hadrian's Wall as part of Hadrian's Wall 1900. It culminates in a thing called Saturnalia, which starts in the east of Hadrian's Wall and comes to Cumbria in about the middle of December. So we're going to hear all about that. Dan Fox and fire and sound and boom boxes are involved in that. So that should be really interesting. And also Stuart Armstrong, I don't know if you remember, he made that film called The Corpse Road, a Cumbrian filmmaker. He's got plans for another film as well. So we're going to hear about that and hear about the success of The Corpse Road, which I think has won some awards, which is fantastic as well. Young Cumbrian filmmaker. Thanks, everybody. And as Helen says, there's a caption version on Facebook now of that lovely JD and Swerve piece as well. Nice to see you all. Have a great weekend.